I've got my criticisms of all the Bitcoins. So, all the different forks.
They talk about a store of value.
That's just a Ponzi scheme. I mean, I think that whole narrative is going to break on its own weight at some point. And when you see these idiots out there who are like big financial guys, made a lot of money, they don't understand the tech at all. They just like buy the narrative and they, so Larry Fink and Saylor and all these other guys, this is going to come crashing down. We've seen this play out so many times and nothing's different. It's just, you're in search of a bigger buyer willing to pay at a higher price. And that's greater fool theory. If you can convince enough people in this world to believe in something, the price will go up. I think Lightning's a load of crap that's never going to work. It's dumb. That was never meant to be. That's someone else's wet dream on top of Bitcoin.
Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Centbee Show. I'm your host, Lorien Gamaroff, and my co-host is Kage, Bitcoin stylist, Ntshingila. Kage, welcome to the show.
That I dig. What's up, Mr. G?
Cool, Kage.
Mr. G.
We got a good one today.
We do, yo.
We got a special guest.
An oracle.
Yes, somebody who knows deep insights about Bitcoin.
Yeah, he's a peer to you. He's been in the space for quite a while, man.
Vinny Lingham, who we're going to be talking to today, he is a South African.
Yeah.
And I met him for the first time at the first Africa Bitcoin conference, which is now called the Blockchain Africa conference.
Yeah.
So it just shows you how things have changed. It was probably around 2015.
Jeez.
And at that stage, I was working at an energy startup and I had built Bitcoin with you. In fact, we were working together.
Jeez, that's
Bitcoin into the energy metering system.
That's a long time ago. That was a dope show and tell system because
Yes.
In the early days, we were mentioning that Bitcoin is about peer-to-peer electronic cash, being able to purchase things that you can't. And for me, that was like the first time seeing it in action because it was just as easy as that. Literally just purchasing electricity, the token gets sent directly to the meter.
Lights go on.
That was magic, man.
Yeah, no, that was really fun and exciting. I went to the Bitcoin conference. I spoke there. Vinny spoke there. He was at that stage, I think, involved in Gyft. And Gyft was a bit of an inspiration for Centbee. You could buy gift cards, digital gift cards with Bitcoin.
Yeah.
So, that's where Vinny comes from, those early days. And of course, he's been very controversial, making a lot of statements that ruffle a lot of crypto feathers out there.
Yeah, he's been vocal.
Yes.
Yeah.
I think it's because he's very pragmatic. He talks about digital cash, but also he talks about you can't have a store of value if there's no utility.
Definitely.
And this is something we talk about all the time.
Yeah.
Bitcoin BTC is supposed to be digital gold.
Yeah.
It's supposed to be a store of value.
Yeah.
And yet it can't do anything. There's no use for it apart from hodling.
Yeah.
And so Vinny has been outspoken about that.
Yeah.
He says you can't have value without utility.
Yeah, I like the fact that he's an advocate for utility because we've been saying that intrinsic value is utility or lies in the utility of things, I mean, he understood from onset. Having a company like Gyft showed a proper understanding of the protocol, I guess. Even though, in some instances, he throws us a bit off, in terms of his remarks.
Yeah, exactly. Well, it's going to be fun. I'm glad to be able to have him on the show, and we're pretty sure that you guys are going to enjoy this. Vinny's a great guy and a great speaker and has done so much online. I mean, you can just Google Vinny and you're going to find 1,000,001 videos, newscasts, blog articles.
His online resume is, there's a lot.
Yes. And of course, we're keen to tease him about BSV and ask him what he thinks of Bitcoin SV and whether he thinks Bitcoin is supposed to be cash.
Yeah.
All right, Kage, so are you ready for the show?
I'm ready, Ms. G. Are you ready?
Yes, let's bring him on. Let's bring the man of the moment.
Let's do that. Cool.
Okay, cool. Well, we're delighted to have you, Vinny. Thanks for coming onto the show today. This is great. You are definitely the oest of Gs when it comes to Bitcoin. You've been around for more than a decade inside Bitcoin and been giving all your opinions, controversial opinions. You're known as a contrarian, somebody who's not afraid to speak his mind when it comes to these topics. And so I'm delighted to be able to introduce you to the show and introduce you to our audience. So welcome to the show.
Thanks, Lorien. And also, I think I've been reasonably neutral and I've tried to be sort of unemotional about things over the years as the communities have kind of split and gone on. So I've got my criticisms of all the Bitcoins. So, all the different forks, including the original Bitcoin as well as BSV and BCH. But it is what it is. It's an experiment that's playing out in the wild, and we'll see where it ends.
Obviously, you've got an incredible career. You've been involved in startups. It's not just crypto, it's payments, it's logistics. I really want to just focus on the Bitcoin side of things. And if anybody wants to know more about Vinny, if you want to go and see what he's done, I mean, his resume is as long as my arm. Been around a lot globally, not just situated in California, I think, at the moment where you are. A true global citizen and a global entrepreneur. So I highly encourage everybody to go look at Vinny's careers. There's plenty of information on the internet. I mean, he's got a show, he's got a blog, and of course, you can even go and check him out on CNBC or a lot of mainstream news articles.
Yeah.
So check that out. So I guess we're going to dive straight into Bitcoin right now, Vinny, and we're gonna get your thoughts. As I said, you're controversial. You're not afraid to speak your mind, and you said a couple things online that have ruffled some feathers.
Sure, straight up. Yeah. Yo, Vinny, as Mr. G just mentioned, you are regarded as one of the OGs in the space. I'd like to know, what was your journey into Bitcoin?
It started actually with payments. So I built a payments company, gift card based payment company called Gyft in 2012, 2014, and we were struggling with credit card fraud. It was a big issue. And so for small payments, like a $5 gift card, the fees were like 30 cents, 40 cents. We'd have a chargeback. It would wipe out the margin. You couldn't actually operate a business with low margins, that high fees, and chargebacks and fraud and whatever else. So I was looking around for some other solution to enable people to be able to purchase these gift cards. And I found Bitcoin. I'm like, this is really cool. People can use it. So we adopted Bitcoin. We became the biggest Bitcoin website in the world at that point, and app. I think at one stage, on certain days of the year, we were like 5% of all the Bitcoin transactions, that entire day. So it was really, really big volume. And it was a very simple sort of value proposition. You could, pay instantly, receive payments. Peer-to-peer electronic cash was the sort of narrative at that point, more closer to the original white paper. And we processed over 100,000 payments that are zero conf, right? And no issues at all. And so it worked great. Loved it. Became a big Bitcoin bull for a couple of years. Became a Bitcoin maxi to some extent as well. And that was my journey into Bitcoin. I did a talk in Cape Town in 2015, I think, where Bitcoin was like $100, and I told everyone to buy it. And there was a TED talk, and with a couple of thousand people in the audience, and they all, hopefully, they bought. The ones that did always tell me, like, "Thank you so much for that talk," But obviously things went astray in 2015 to 2017 with the introduction of RBF and a couple other changes to the protocol. 2017 came along. I was on the sort of, increase the block size thing. I wouldn't say I was a big blocker like Bitcoin SV. I was more like, look, you just need to increase it as the capacity grows. But then, the forks happened. I kind of said, look, I think that peer-to-peer electronic cash is the intention of Bitcoin. So between myself and the Bitcoin community itself, the sort of hardcore guys, I kind of, went my own direction. And quite frankly, I just said, this is all stupid, and I'm going to go invest in Solana. So I led the seed round in Solana for Multicoin, and Solana is now number 3 and hopefully number 2 soon. And so that was, we did really well with Solana, and that's kind of my journey in that's just the short version of it. I still have a ton of criticism of BSV. I think the hash powers, relative to the size of the blocks, is just too low. When you try and transact it across exchanges, they want 50 to 100 confirmations before they'll let your coins go. So it's not in a good place. Sorry for the bad news, until that issue is fixed, and maybe it gets fixed through other methods. But again. Obviously, Craig is a controversial character, and that adds more friction and headwinds for BSV. It's delisted everywhere; you can't buy it anywhere. So it's a problem. But the text seems like it's solid. It seems like it matches the original white paper the closest out of all the 3 implementations. But it's by no means clear sailing yet. So I'm waiting. I mean, the Terra Node stuff sounds good, but again, if you can't get confirmations and 6 confirmations in an hour that you can rely on. I mean, I think the odd reorg here and there doesn't really make a difference to people, but 50, 60 cons on the few exchanges that do trade it is not a great user experience.
I want to go back to the whole idea of Bitcoin because it started out as cash, and obviously now what people call it is digital gold. And, they talk about a store of value.
That's just a Ponzi scheme. I think that whole narrative is going to break on its own weight at some point. And when you see these idiots out there who are like big financial guys, made a lot of money, they don't understand the tech at all. They just like buy the narrative and they, so Larry Fink and Saylor and all these other guys, this is going to come crashing down. I tweeted it out recently. I just said that, MicroStrategy will probably be worse for Bitcoin than FTX when it actually breaks. I just can't see how this perpetual money machine is going to work forever. But whatever. But people are free to do whatever they want with their cash, and they're free to sort of make money on. I think Bitcoin's probably going to go up. How high? I don't know. And then it's probably going to go through another crash again. How low? I don't know. But we've seen this play out so many times, and nothing's different. It's just you're in search of a bigger buyer willing to pay at a higher price, and that's greater fool theory. And I just didn't, that's what I said back in 2017. And I just don't think that it's long-term sustainable, but I've been proven wrong for a long time. And I'm happy to be wrong for a long time. Eventually I'll be right. But I just think that utility is the most important thing. And so when I look at Solana and Ethereum in particular, utility is actually pretty high on those networks. Is the valuation in line? I don't know. But I'm bullish on the idea that utility is a good measure of value versus just holding and not spending. But personally, I've become a gold bug. I'm buying gold. Like I'm buying real gold because I don't believe in digital gold.
Digital fool's gold. Well, you said it there. The idea that something can be scarce and have value without utility, we talk about that all the time.
Yeah.
And, these crypto people out there, they say, well, it's secure and it's decentralized and it's scarce. And that means now it's gold. It's digital gold.
That doesn't really matter much. Just because something's scarce, it doesn't really matter. It's more about look, they've got there's a whole Austrian economics perspective on BTC, which I don't really quite buy. I'm not Keynesian either. I just think that it's it's whatever you want it to be. If you can convince enough people in this world to believe in something, the price will go up. So it's part of the human nature until the cost of capital is just too high and you can't live in fairyland. And right now the cost of capital is still too low. I think the Fed made a mistake by cutting rates. The market's saying the same thing. And I just think they're going to screw this up. So I think what people don't appreciate is that what's going to be hurt the most is the 10-year, and that's already down to its lows right now. It's like 4.30 today or something. The 10-year is going to keep going down until it maybe hits 5%, and then they sort of have a panic attack. But when people are selling the 10-year, what do you think they're buying for safe long-term gains? They're buying gold. They're not actually buying Bitcoin. Bitcoin is a small percentage of the bond market, tiny percentage. So, China is moving into gold. BRICS are moving into gold, and that's why gold is on such a good run. So I think that real gold is more of an inflation and sort of monetary policy hedge. Bitcoin, not so sure, but again, I've been wrong for 7 years on this because it keeps going up, and it just gets bigger, and that whatever. If enough people believe in it, then it'll be true.
I think I would like to summarize, and you're saying basically that this is just a big collective delusion. People have this kind of, everyone's high on hopium, that they can sit back. I think I remember reading a tweet of yours saying that this is the first time you can buy something and not do anything, be a complete imbecile, and yet still make a ton of money.
Pretty much. And it's okay. This is what it is. If at some point people get rugged, and then they'll be like, well, what happened? But but look, that's just my view, and I think that I obviously own some Bitcoin. No one, you shouldn't have zero Bitcoin. It's part of a good portfolio you hedge. But I wouldn't say I'm no. I have probably I just have more gold than Bitcoin at this point because I think gold is more valuable.
This idea of Bitcoin was meant to be peer-to-peer electronic cash. That's what Satoshi created. Nowadays, there's a saying that everybody's got that says we're all Satoshi, meaning that Satoshi doesn't matter anymore, and it's what the market decides. It's Satoshi is irrelevant. The Bitcoin he created is irrelevant.
Yeah, so it's irrelevant, and I'll tell you why. I think that if you look at BSV as an example. My criticism there is that not enough people are functionally using it. There's not enough. You look at the Solana community and the Ethereum community. So if you want utility, you're going to go to those chains over BSV right now. So BSV has got to fix up a lot of its issues, and I own some BSV as well. I think it's important to have all your bases covered in crypto, and you should be holding things which there is potential in. But it's we're talking. Bitcoin can keep going up. Bitcoin can go up to like 120, 200, 300, 500. It can go crash back down to 50. It can rebuild itself until something actually dethrones it. It's going to be going up and up and up, because that's just, there's more money in the world right now than there is, common sense. And so it'll be keep going up. And what that does to chains like BSV is, I think it just stunts the growth, because the capital, the attention, the skill, the talents all move to Bitcoin, Ethereum, Solana. So, but BSV is definitely a dark horse, and it's a long, long race. And maybe in like 10 or 20 years, it sort of proves itself out and fixes issues, and that's great. But I'm in retirement right now. I'm like early retirement, and I don't think that people want to wait around that long. So unless there's a plan to get it done faster, I don't know. It just seems like it's a very, very slow race.
So do you think Satoshi's idea of peer-to-peer electronic cash is dead in the water?
Well, what's happened is, since that came out, we've moved to digital dollars, right? So we've got USDC, Tether, we've got all these digital dollars running on Solana and Ethereum, and that's proving to work. People are using it. PayPal's got their own now, so a digital dollar system is emerging. Whether we, like when Bitcoin was around, there was nothing like it, right? There was no digital dollars. Now we have digital dollars. And so it's a large part of the utility and use case in stable currency is being fulfilled by these sort of tokenized dollars. But you get back into the sort of look. My view on Bitcoin was that would be most successful when held in small amounts by large numbers of people. So you keep $100 or $1,000 in your wallet, and you just use it to pay for stuff digitally, for micropayments, for whatever, gift cards, whatever you need it for. And that was the long-term goal. But you need adoption. You need merchants that are willing to accept it. You need people that are willing to, back in the days, like, you could pay with Bitcoin anyway. You got Expedia accepted Bitcoin, right? But that entire network just disintegrated with RBF and some other changes, and them not, the core developers, I guess, not wanting people to use Bitcoin for small transactions. And so that vision disappeared, but no one else has filled that gap. I mean, Bitcoin Cash is kind of trying to do it, but the network's not strong enough. So BSV and BCH would just need some sort of a catalyst for them to take off, and there's just nothing. We've been around 7 years now watching, and there's just no catalyst. And even though you could argue there's a ton of utility on BSV, I mean, unless you get down to 6 confirmations, no one cares.
Yeah, Vinny, talking about Lightning, I mean, we know that it's supposed to make transactions cheaper on
It's been a lot for 7 years. I said that in 2017. I've got tweets out about it. I think Lightning's a load of crap that's never going to work. And I've even had fights with Jack Mallers and whatever else. And they keep trying. And, the routing's a problem. The centralization of nodes is a problem. All that stuff. It's dumb. That was never meant to be. That's someone else's wet dream on top of Bitcoin.
I appreciate your honesty there.
Yeah, exactly.
Layer 1 maxi. I think layer 1's the only way to go in blockchains.
Layer 1s don't work. So you think that the only way...
No. I think I'm a layer 1 maxi. I don't think even Ethereum I'm skeptical on, because I think the layer 2s are basically like vampiric in some sense. I don't believe in layer 2s. I think layer 2s are stupid. I think Lightning's dumb. Layer 2s. In fact, I think that exchanges are actually layer 2s for Bitcoin, and layer 3 is what we're talking about. But it's like a semantics here.
Right. Yes. Also, a very important thing about Lightning, apart from the routing and all that, first of all, it breaks the traceability of transactions on Bitcoin, but also it shifts the fees away from the miners. So it kind of undermines the economic model there. And speaking about the traceability, I know that you have now Civic, and Civic it's also a blockchain solution that you were originally thinking of building on Bitcoin. Obviously, that's not happening anymore. So in terms of regulation, do you think that it's important that blockchain can be regulated and it's not unconfiscatable, uncensorable, all that sort of thing? Do you think those are the words that are going to eventually be crypto's downfall, trying to shirk and skirt around regulation?
So one of the problems that I think was unforeseen by Satoshi or whoever was that if you had the situation where you have these splits between BCH, BSB, and BTC, and the dominant chain has the most value, corruption flows into the system. And so if the dominant chain has enough money, they can pay off whoever they want to make that so. And society doesn't work as cleanly as we'd hope based upon logic and reason. There's also just a level of corruption that goes in the system. And so if you pay off enough people, they'll accept it. They'll make rules where you can have certain amounts. So I think that there's enough demand from, people within the community who want to keep their funds private to pay off regulators in certain countries and just hide under the radar. And then, so basically, at the higher Bitcoin goes, in theory, you're enabling a beast because there are special interests involved that are able to now change the paradigm of the world. So, as smart as Satoshi may be, I don't think he foresaw all these things coming into play. And that's why, after the forks, it's kind of, that's why Bitcoin is just rallying so hard, because I don't think the market's factoring in anyone else beating it, because just, the power concentration.
Yes. I just want to go back to Satoshi. Satoshi is an important character here, because you just said that Satoshi didn't think about everything. And of course, what we've seen with Taproot and Segwit, it seems that the BTC community are trying to change Bitcoin because of that whole miner centralization issue that they see. But surely the miners, in terms of supporting the network, being these large entities that are accountable institutions, don't you think that Satoshi used mining to be able to implement some kind of regulatory oversight? Because with miners now, because they're so large and so visible, they become accountable to law enforcement. And so if there is a global court order to freeze funds...
Here's the problem is, the problem with law enforcement right now is there's literally a denial of service attack on law enforcement around the world. So, Satoshi, as much as you can have this view that, okay, he figured this out, you try implementing it or forcing mass changes or regulations. These cases would take years to resolve, even for $5,000 or $10,000 or whatever the amount is. So you look at it from a practical perspective, you can just DOS the legal system with transactions, and it doesn't matter. Sure, go to court, go fight over 10 years, go spend $2 million on legal fees, or even 3 years to solve a $5,000 transaction. The law doesn't, when it comes to these things, the law doesn't really actually take any action. I mean, it has to be extremely egregious. Everyone's too busy. It's like San Francisco, it's lawlessness, right? Because it's just too busy, too many things happening, too few police officers. So if the legal system doesn't have capacity to handle legal cases in an expedient way, what do you think happens? Anarchy. And that's where we are in crypto.
Mm-hmm. Yes, especially with all these privacy coins and all that sort of thing.
It's running. People are using it. So the law doesn't help. I mean, I know Craig goes on about the law, but how long do his cases take years? People run out of time. And honestly, when it comes to small amount, 5, 10, 50K, no one's going to go to court about that stuff. I mean, it's just, and if enough of it happens, and even on Bitcoin right now, look how many coins move a day, look how much volume of hidden transactions there are a day. They can't pursue all these guys. It doesn't make any sense. There's no system, there's no court system in the world that can keep up with the volume. And then you're going to go with BSV will do it. Yeah, well, if you're running 3 million transactions per second, good luck running that through any legal system, trying to spot an extra 1% out of there or whatever. It's just not going to happen. So it's kind of theoretically you're right, practically never going to happen.
I just want to stick on Satoshi. There was a poll that you put on your on Twitter, on X, and it was who is Satoshi, and Craig Wright was polling hard on that.
Well, that's kind of selection bias, because all the BSV guys started retweeting me, and then you basically selecting all their followers, and so the selection bias was pretty strong on that one.
That's how it is. But now I just wanted to know, what's your opinion? Who do you think is Satoshi?
I think Satoshi was a group of probably 3 people. I don't think it was Finney. And of those 3 people, I think, one's probably dead. One is, missing in action or can't prove it's Satoshi, and one probably has the keys and hasn't used it yet. And I don't think they may. I mean, it doesn't make any sense why they wouldn't. So maybe the keys aren't there. Maybe they just don't have the keys. Maybe the keys are lost. Who knows?
But probably, I'm sure you don't think it's Peter Todd or Adam Back.
Absolutely not.
Yes, and then my last question, because this is what we spoke about on the last show, it was about Craig Wright's passing off case now that he is, he's taking the entire crypto industry down. Do you think that he's got a leg to stand on to say that what people are calling Bitcoin today isn't what Satoshi Nakamoto described as Bitcoin in his white paper? In effect, what crypto are doing are passing off BTC as Bitcoin. Do you think he's got a leg to stand on?
I'm not a legal scholar. I don't know the ins and outs of it. I think that it's, again, what's the point? I'm kind of against all these lawsuits and whatever else. I think it's a waste of time. I hate the legal system. I think it's stupid. And so, you want to win. You want to win on utility. You want to win on functionality. You want to win because it's a better version of the original. And until you solve a couple of issues, BSV is so far away from it. I don't think it makes a difference for Craig, even if he wins. I mean, the thing is, just getting enforceability across multiple jurisdictions is really hard. So you're always going to have people just moving around, and don't underestimate the core team and what they've been able to do, and the followers behind Bitcoin. Even if the court ruled in Craig's favor, it'll morph into something which is, again, you have to go for another court case. Like, life's too short to do court cases.
Right. Well, Vinny, I want to thank you so much for your time. I hope we can do this again. I have so many questions, and you've been around so long, and also being known as the Bitcoin Oracle, you've been right so many times.
Yeah. He is known in the crypto universe as the Oracle of Bitcoin. Let's bring in Civic CEO and a shark on Shark Tank South Africa, Vinny Lingham.
And so, there's so many things to explore, and I appreciate you coming on today to the Centbee Show, and I hope you enjoy the rest of your day.
Thanks, man. Appreciate it, guys. Thank you. Catch you soon.
Cheers. Cool. Well, Kage, that was really great having Vinny on the Centbee Show.
Yeah, nice and brief. But I'm glad that we actually got to pick his brain and get his insight full on, because we've been reading tweets and just seeing him online. Having him here brings it home to have a better understanding of where he's standing.
Yes, and also it's nice to get an opinion on the show of somebody who isn't into Satoshi's vision so much. Yeah. I mean, he is. He believes in digital cash and that, but he doesn't believe in BSV, of course.
Yeah.
He said there that there were some problems with scaling. I think one of the things he said was that, why do we need to scale so big so soon? And this is actually a Bitcoin Cash thing. Bitcoin Cash, they are not growing the blocks bigger than they need. They think, let's just have the block size that we need for now. And I think at the moment for them it's 8 megabytes or 16 megabytes. I actually forget the number. But that's because they say we don't need more than that. There aren't any more transactions than that. So then why bother scaling the blocks to be massive? Now, of course, BSV has a completely different take, because nobody's going to use BSV unless they can see that it can actually handle millions of transactions at extremely low cost.
Proof of work, yo.
That's right. So I think that idea is that we're not going to scale as we need to. We need to demonstrate massive scale, because we want to invite the world onto BSV. And if you're an enterprise and you are thinking, right, I've got millions of transactions I need processed per second. If you go and look at BSV and BSV is only doing 100,000, then that enterprise is going to say, I'm not going to use this system, because if I use it, it's just going to clog up the blocks and it's going to be expensive and it's going to basically be BTC. So the whole approach that BSV has is, don't try and only scale as we need to. We need to demonstrate massive scale, and that's why we have Terranode.
I'm glad that you also clarified that, Mr. G, because I don't want also this understanding to be pushed as if it's just a redundant sort of
it's a vanity metric.
Exactly. And I feel like Terranode is like a way to also distinguish the real protocol from the rest.
Yes, and to show that what Satoshi Nakamoto said when he said that Bitcoin doesn't reach a scaling ceiling. Terranode is an example of that, where all that we need to do now is develop the software to be able to process these transactions. The protocol itself, the way Satoshi Nakamoto created Bitcoin, was that it wasn't ever going to be a protocol that eventually hit a limit and it would say, well, that's it, that's the maximum we can do. Given the nature of the network, which is a small world network, meaning that the miners are all connected to each other with massive lines so they can broadcast their solutions to blocks, and they can communicate with other miners, they can pick up transactions. That small network, world network, where all these miners are connected immediately to each other, means that now all you need to do is just make sure that the data pipes, the connections are large enough, and that the miners have enough processing power. They can then process an infinity of transactions if it is economically viable to them, and that's of course where the fees come in.
Yeah, also that sounds exciting, especially for, an innovator, someone who wants to build for the people. Because that's the first thing I believe you have to look at, scaling, and BSV hits it on the nose.
Yeah. Certainly does. Well, anyway, it was great to have Vinny and his opinion over here. Maybe we can have him back and we can get him to come over the line a little bit. It was also fun to ask him about Craig. Of course, he's somebody who's a little bit more skeptical. Also, he expressed that he doesn't think it's very good to get involved with the legal system and as much as you can. And of course, being involved in the legal system, it is messy and it is long and it is expensive and it is drawn out. So it would be nice to be able to solve problems without going through that system. But there's a very important reason why that system exists, is so that if you do have a problem, or if there is a criminal activity going on, if there is a crime going on, we need a legal system so that we can work these problems out. So of course, Dr. Craig Wright, he is doing this right now. He believes that BTC is being passed off as Bitcoin, and he is taking it to the courts. It is going to take a long time. I think Craig Wright has a good argument there. BTC is not Bitcoin.
It's not.
It's completely different, and the whole world is being sold the story that it is.
Well, a lie.
So anyway, good luck to Dr. Craig, right? And we're wishing him well in that, and we're looking forward to seeing how it pans out.
Sure. Ms. G, you're stepping into this week's user questions and feedback. So our first one comes from Pactoshi, and they're saying, thank you for this episode, Centbee, Gamaroff, Kage Viv.
Cool. Thanks, Pactoshi. In fact, I've seen Pactoshi on Twitter.
Oh, yeah.
He's very prolific, or they're very prolific. I'm not sure, man or woman. But great tweets. I often like those tweets. And so if you guys are on X, then check out at Pactoshi, I think it is. Thanks, Pactoshi.
It's actually at Art Collect. His name is Pactoshi, but shout out to you, yo. Our second one comes from Bitcoin Blofeld. So they're saying, Centbee, great channel, needs more recognition.
Well, you guys know what to do if you want more people to recognize us. Like and subscribe and share with your friends. That's what we're here for. We're here to try and bring real Bitcoin knowledge to the world, and we're very excited to do that. And we love the encouragement, and comments like that just want to make us keep on going.
Straight up. Yo, thanks for that, Bitcoin Blofeld. Our third one comes from Beroshi. And Beroshi's saying, I'm here for all the smoke. Call me Smokey Bear.
Yes, we're gonna light a fire under Cryptard.
Straight up. We're bringing the smoke, Mr. G. Especially these BTC guys, yo. We all here for the smoke. So thanks for that, Beroshi. Our fourth one comes from Drew Bantic. So Drew is saying, awesome, thanks. Thumbs up.
Pleasure. Thank you.
Cool. Thanks, Drew. Our last one comes from David Streets. They're saying, great show. Hot.
Awesome. I wonder which one that was.
I think it was our previous show.
The passing off one. Bitcoin is fake.
Yeah.
Yes, that's right. Check out Bitcoin is Fake. That is all about Dr. Craig Wright's case that he's bringing against crypto. I think it's the entire industry.
Yep.
Anybody who is selling BTC as Bitcoin. And it's going to be huge. It's going to be exciting. It's a $1 trillion case. Record breaking.
Jeez.
Satoshi's coming back, and he's coming back with a vengeance.
So guys, stick around, and also remember just to show some love, subscribe, and also check out the app on the stores. Mobile money on fire. Mr. G, I think we've come to the end of our show.
Great stuff. Well, thanks, Kage. And we also want to thank Vinny for joining us. Vinny Lingham, please go and check him out. Follow him on X. He's very prolific. He's very interesting and definitely a contrarian. And we're very grateful for Vinny joining us. So thanks, Vinny. We want to thank you guys for joining us here today on the Centbee Show. Please come back soon.